This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Maserati is in deep trouble. Sales fell 45% last year. Revenues fell more than 50%. There are no signs of anything turning around, and the U.S.'s tariffs will likely kill sales in North America. So it comes as no surprise that Stellantis is considering selling off the iconic Italian luxury brand. The company denies the report, but with 14 major car brands, as well as additional sub-brands, Stellantis is saddled with a massive investment bill every year to keep them all fresh and competitive. If it does decide to sell Maserati, the most logical buyer, we think, could be one of the Chinese automakers trying to make inroads into the European market. Politically, that would generate massive blowback, but it also might be the only way to save the brand and the jobs that go with it. It looks like younger people are not interested in getting their driver's license. AlixPartners tracked what percentage of Americans hold a driver's license, and it did so by age group over the last 22 years. What it found was that if the same percentage of Americans had a license today compared to the year 2000, there would be 3.7 million more drivers, and there would be 4.5 million more cars. We'll add this to the mix as well. When you consider slower population growth and an aging population, it becomes more and more likely that new car sales will never return to the 2016 record of 17.5 million units. Sales of new cars this year will likely be about 2 million vehicles below that. We're getting a few more details about Ford's Skunkworks EV program. According to Lisa Drake, Ford's VP of Technology Platforms and EV Systems, the new platform will match the full system costs of the leading Chinese automakers. That includes the pricing for the battery, chassis, and the thermal systems. There will be up to 8 body styles built on the platform, the first of which will be a mid-size pickup truck that's expected to look like an electric Ranger. And the vehicle will feature prismatic LFP batteries that were developed with CATL and produced in the U.S. However, Ford's pricing projections rely on federal tax credits, in part for the new battery plant that it's building in Michigan. And as we reported yesterday, that plant is coming under a lot of political fire, and there's a proposed bill from the U.S. House that would eliminate those tax credits.
Developing today's vehicles, issues can happen in an instant. What good is knowing your problems without the data to solve them? Meet Wireless Neovi Cloud, your secure off-the-shelf solution, empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Yesterday, we reported that AlixPartners calculates that the U.S. tariffs will cost automakers an additional $30 billion a year, and German automakers will be responsible for a big chunk of that. According to the industry lobbying group for German automakers, they paid an estimated 500 million euros more on importing cars to the U.S. in April. That's because all cars and parts coming from the EU now face a 25% tariff, which could get negotiated down, but reports say that the U.S. will not go below 10%, and that would still be a significant jump over the previous 2.5% import fee. This is probably the reason Audi is considering building a new manufacturing plant in the southern part of the U.S., at least according to reports out of Germany. If this were a move to only appease President Trump, we think Audi could have just announced an investment in VW's plant in Tennessee or Scout's new plant in South Carolina. But since it's considering a new facility, which would cost an estimated 4 billion euros, Audi probably thinks the tariffs are here to stay. And there's no way that German automakers can afford paying an extra €500 million a month on shipments to the US. Stellantis and Renault say Europe needs its own version of Japan's K-cars, and they're lobbying the EU to loosen safety requirements to bring them to the market. Car makers in Europe have largely given up on the small car segment because regulations make them bigger, heavier, and more expensive. And currently, small cars only account for 5% of the market. So Stellantis chairman John Elkann and former Renault CEO Luca De Meo have been publicly campaigning for Europe to allow smaller cars with fewer safety features that will be less expensive to build. Automakers are interested in growing the small car segment to help boost sales as well as meet CO2 targets. And speaking of Renault, we have more details about its partnership with Geely in Brazil. The two automakers formed a joint venture in February to produce and sell cars in Brazil. And according to a new filing by Geely, Renault will have a 73% stake in the JV, and Geely will control the remainder. The joint venture will build and sell vehicles under the Renault and Geely brands, and it will produce and distribute light commercial vehicles under the Renault brand. But the deal still needs to get regulatory approval. Chinese tech giant Baidu currently operates the largest robotaxi fleet in China with more than 1,000 vehicles. But now it wants to expand its robotaxi service outside of the country. Baidu is planning to enter Singapore and Malaysia as early as this year. It's in discussions to partner with mobility service providers, taxi companies, and fleet operators in the two countries. In addition to Southeast Asia, Baidu has announced plans to expand into the Middle East and is also looking to operate in Europe and Turkey. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering boost your game. Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility. And by
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.
Performance that shines, even in the rain. That's what really matters. Bridgestone Potenza tires, improved grip in wet conditions.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.